All right, here we go. It is March 5th, 2018, and I am super excited for tonight's call with my good friend Ciji Siddons. And I'm going to start off with a couple housekeeping announcements, and then we're going to go right into our interview and talk to Ciji about quite a few different things tonight. We are talking about referrals, but that's going to be a small portion of it. When I have Ciji on, I don't want to spend all our time talking about one topic. What I am super pumped up about is the rapid crystal reset, and I'm sure CG is going to say the same thing. And I've been doing calls. I can't believe I have a voice. I've been on the phone since 11 o'clock this morning. I have been doing Zoom after phone call, sharing the excitement about this. So many people were doing coaching groups, and so many people are totally fired up about this. So if you are not part of a coaching group, make sure you reach out to your upline leader and see if they're doing something that you can get engaged in. And if not, please let me know, and I will throw an extra group together, because I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to be coached during this crystal rapid reset. Because in my almost 6 years now, we've had 3 crystal resets, which have all been amazing. 2 of which they allowed people that had already hit the crystal executive level. They allowed us to do it again, which I think is fabulous. And this time they're doubling all the bonuses. So to me, this is such a win-win that I remember when they took the holiday bonus pool away, I had so many people reaching out to me so upset about that. And I tried to explain to them that that was a wonderful program, but it didn't stretch us. It was basically giving people bonuses for remaining the same. And Isogenics is all about stretching us and helping us grow our businesses. And to grow our businesses, we need incentives like January Jolt, February Frenzy, and certainly this reset is going to be huge for growing our businesses. So make sure in ISA for Wealth, Tara Batsky updated this, and I know it's backwards, but she has in here all of the new bonuses available to you. So download this fabulous sheet. And if you haven't seen it yet, CG, I'll email it to you so you can get a copy of this for your team. It's fabulous. Yeah, there you go, Gina. Good job. So make sure you're filling these out and that you put all the dates in your calendar. Yay, awesome, Joelle. You want to make sure that you are not leaving any money on the table. Yay, Maureen. Awesome, guys. Love seeing that. So absolutely, you want to make sure that you are doing everything in your power to achieve all of the rank advancements that you are possibly able to achieve and really reap the rewards from it. So with no further ado, we're going to get right into this, and I'm going to share a little bit about how I met Ciji and where she was, because I want her to share her story with you. When I went to my very first event, and some of you guys have heard this story, I've interviewed Ciji before, but I went to my very first event in the summer of 2012. I was brand new. Do we have a good connection here? Because you guys are looking like you're stalling a little bit. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up if you can hear me okay. We good? Okay, awesome. So I went to my first event and I had Valerie Gerber with me and Susan Wheeler with me. And we were at the gala and CG sat with us and we met her, fell in love with her, and we just shared. She was asking us questions and we asked questions back to find out where she was. And back then, she was so impressed that we were executives. We did it in a short amount of time, and she wasn't quite there yet. And we just encouraged her, and we knew she would be a rock star. But boy, oh boy, did she just shoot. And so one of the things I want you to share when you share your story, CG, I want you to share kind of, your introduction to Isogenics and your story, but I want you to really focus on how did you go from being struggling at that point when you were barely making $500 a month to being a 7-figure income earner in a year at such a young age. So that part of your story is so inspiring to so many of us. So I really would love you to focus on that a little bit. And I want you guys to give her a warm, warm welcome. She is a 9-star platinum 3-star crystal executive. And let us know, when did you start? I know you were before me, but are you about 6.5, 7 years?
2010. So 8 years on the product.
8 years. Awesome. So please, well, first of all, thank you for giving up of your time. I know how busy you are, and I am just so grateful that you are always so willing to share with my team and pour love and belief and everything into my team. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and let's hear from you.
Oh my God, I love you, Cindy. And by default, that means that I love everybody on this line. Cindy and Susan and Valerie, they were so nice to me. It was did you say 6 years? Yeah, 6 years ago this summer when I first met them. And I was terrified. And Cindy was very nice and saying I wasn't quite at executive yet. I wasn't even remotely in the ballpark of executive. It wasn't even on my to-do list, if I'm being completely honest, because it just seemed so out of reach at the time. So I was introduced to Isagenix, like I said, 8 years ago, this past February. So I've been on over 8 years on the products. When I was waiting and bartending on the Jersey Shore. So I happened to work with a girl who also taught fitness classes at my gym. And one day in a casual bar conversation, I just basically said to her, you know, it's a good protein shake. I would love a recommendation. I assume you probably have one, given that you teach fitness classes. And she said to me, well, you should get on the phone with my sister. And I was like, well, why can't you just tell me the name of it? And many of you probably know the bartender I was talking to, or have heard of her at this point. It's Tara Romano, who's an Isagenix millionaire. But at the time, we're going back 6 years, Tara wouldn't even admit to being in network marketing. It wasn't something for herself, believed in at the time. So she was a little bit uncomfortable with it. So I got on the phone with her sister. I didn't really understand why. I thought the whole thing was weird just to get the name of a protein shake. But I wanted the name, obviously, badly enough. So we got on the phone, and for those of you who don't know, Tara's sister is Alexis Romano, who is top 10 in Isagenix at this point. But 6 years ago, she was a guidance counselor in Jersey City, New York. So I was on the phone with a stranger, and she said to me, you're not going to get a protein shake. You're going to do a 30-day system, and you're going to love it. And I'm pretty easygoing, so I just agreed to do that. I figured, what's the worst that can happen? So I put the products in my body. It's like most people will say. 2 weeks in, I remember calling Alexis and saying, okay, wait a minute. I feel great, but let's be real. What happens after? You can't tell me people drink protein shakes and do cleanses for the rest of their life. And she said, if you feel amazing, why would you stop? And that just made logical sense to me. So I pretty much made the decision from that day forward that these products were going to be a non-negotiable part of my life. She told me there was a business opportunity. She told me I could get my products paid for. And I said, no, thank you. I didn't understand it. I didn't think it was for me. Wasn't someone who had a network. I didn't find myself very influential. I didn't really have a direction in life. So I politely declined because honestly, I thought like, I can just pay for the products. It's not that big of a deal. Because, you know, I was a bartender, so I was obviously rolling in the cash. So 2 years pass and I'm still waitressing and bartending on the Jersey Shore, which was a great job. And it definitely had its points that I enjoyed. I worked with people I loved and, you know, I laughed a lot. And at the same time, when I turned 28 years old, I was very clear that it was not what I wanted for myself. And my life was all of a sudden going in a direction that I felt like I couldn't stop it. So I did what I think a lot of people my age do. And I decided to go to grad school. And when I decided to go to grad school, that's also when I realized very quickly that I could not work 80 hours behind the bar and be a full-time grad student. And something was going to have to give. And the one thing I didn't want to have to sacrifice was my nutrition. So that's when I reached back out to Alexis and Tara. And I said, okay, you said there's an opportunity here just to get my products paid for. Can you show me what that looks like? And Alexis said, you make a list and then you're going to reach out to people on your list and you're going to set up 3-way calls. And not much has changed because it's still pretty much how you get started. So I did that. And Alexis one day said, you need to come to this event. And it was Isagenix University in New Jersey. It was in March of 2012. And I remember thinking, this is such an aggressive request on my time. I'm in school. I work weekends. It was a Friday and a Saturday. But she didn't pose it as a question. She just posed it as an expectation. You have to come to this event. And because I really wanted to make $400 a month in Isagenix, I agreed to go because I do tend to be very coachable. And it was at this event that I really started to understand the power of this vehicle that I was sitting in, because I watched people get up at this recognition lunch they did. And I think the recognition lunch was for anyone who enrolled over 5 people or over 10 people in a month, which was awesome. And at the same time, to look at it now and how big that recognition lunch would have to be if Isagenix did something like that, because we have people doing it all the time. But 6 years ago, there were not nearly as many people doing it. So I sat in that lunch and I watched people stand up and make declarations of where they were going to be in their business in 6 months and in 12 months and in 2 years. And that's when I really started to understand the vision. And I remember looking at Alexis and saying, okay, wait a minute. I can do this full time. I don't have to get a job. Like, people actually make money doing this. And she kind of rolled her eyes and she was like, well, yeah, duh. Like, why do you think we're here? And it was that day that I said, this is what I'm going to do. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but this is what I want to do, because I always knew I wasn't meant for a job, and I wasn't meant for a 9 to 5, and I wasn't meant for a commute and an alarm clock. None of that ever made sense to me. I just didn't know that there was another way. And I always knew that the second I got that job with health benefits and everything that people talked about was the day for me that I was selling my soul to something that I just wasn't interested in, which so then it all made sense why I had avoided interviews and resumes up until I was 28 years old. So that's when I really made the decision to do this. And I would love to say that I was her rocket ship, but I met Cindy about 6 months later. My rocket certainly did not take off very quickly. I was a consultant at the time, I'm sure. I didn't have any trouble enrolling people necessarily, but I definitely struggled with building a team. We didn't have the rank of manager at the time, but I for sure would not have been a manager when I was there. I had no belief in myself. I didn't have a lot of belief in my ability to really do this and build this. And so the best way I can explain how I went from $500 a month, which was 2012, to experiencing some really exciting momentum over the next, like, I would say 2 years really, was I did it anyway. I did all the things that Alexis told me to do when no one was following me. So I think a lot of people will wait until someone is following them to go to the events or to take action or to get on the training calls, which obviously is not you guys because you're all on here. But I treated this like a business from the day I decided to do it. And I honestly did whatever Alexis told me to do, which sounds like such an airy-fairy answer. But she could have told me to go stand in traffic and I would have done it, because I knew that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clue what network marketing was. And there was a person I could follow, and it was Alexis. So it was follow Alexis or try to figure it out on my own. And following Alexis seemed like a way better plan, because the one thing I can always say about Alexis is I didn't know where she was going, but I knew she was going somewhere, because she had such a posture about her. And if you've ever been around her, she's not a big personality. She's not like loud life of the party, but she has so much clarity and so much posture in what she's doing and where she's going that there was no way I was going to be left behind. And so that's really the best way I can describe what I experienced in those 2 years. It was almost like the first year for me was a lot of practice in learning what this business looks like and taking the action without experiencing much of a result. And then the second year is when all of a sudden it was the work from the first year started to compound and I started to see the success. But my first person did not really join me in this business until I was in it for 14 months. And she's actually a recent millionaire, Lara Leopoldi. She was recognized at New Year's kickoff. She the business 14 months after I had started. And I always say, when Lara said yes, I knew exactly what to do with her. It wasn't a question in my mind of what her process was going to look like, what the systems looked like, how to really take her from where she was to go. I was so clear on it because I was doing it anyway when she wasn't there. So when she did finally show up, she could trust that I knew what I was doing, because my posture and my belief had grown so much at that point because I did it when no one followed me. So does that answer the question a little bit?
That's perfect. And I've met my match. You talk faster than I do. And I'm a fast talker. Good thing you're so clear, though. We can understand every word that you say, but I love it because you do speak with such excitement. And, you know, one of the things I talk to my team about all the time is how important it is to have that posture and that conviction, that belief. And so many people don't have it. How did you find that when you had no network marketing experience? Even though you had multiple degrees, you were still bartending. Tell everyone, how were you able to find that within? How were you able to dig deep and find that conviction that you were able to be so attractive to other people and they wanted to join you?
That's a great question, because I really wish that people knew me 6 or 7 years ago. And I actually have a call on Wednesday with a girl who I had bartended with 8 or 9 years ago about the opportunity. And she probably doesn't remember the first time we had a conversation going back 6 or 7 years ago. I was so nervous. I couldn't even answer a question without laughing because I had such little belief and I was so insecure with the whole process. So the way I built the belief was I borrowed it from other people. I went to everything. And this is the thing that I think I do that I really don't think most people will do, if I'm being completely honest, because I just said it to someone today. I said, I don't think most people are willing to do what I'm willing to do. And it was go figure it out on my own. I didn't wait for Alexis to give me the blueprint of this is how you build belief. I didn't wait for like one book to be the thing. I was relentless in figuring out what it looked like for myself. And I became obsessed with figuring this business out, figuring myself out, figuring out how to get better. It was never a competition for me with anyone else, but it's always been a competition with myself of proving to myself that I can do this and that I can figure it out and that I can be successful. And now it's this contest with myself almost of proving that I can become a stronger leader. I can become a better person. I can become a more peaceful person. These are all things I'm working on now. And what I said to the person that I'm working with is, I don't think most people are like me, if I'm being honest, and I'm just starting to realize it. I don't think most people are going to really be that tenacious and that willing to figure it out on their own. And so if you are going to be most people, you're still a good person and I wish you the best luck. But if you're willing to be that smaller percentage, I think that's where everything lies. And I think Cindy would agree with me. She's that small percentage of people who's willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
In the search. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to this day, I'm still listening to things. My belief is up here, my conviction's up here, but I am still listening to, I'm totally fascinated with Tony Robbins these days. So I still listen to so many other podcasts, but Tony has a way of really getting in here. And I think he helps me with my coaching of other people too. And some of the things that he shares, I shared on my coaching calls today, some of the things that he shares to really help people have a breakthrough. And he says constantly, change your story, change your life. And so your story was that you were struggling and you had all these degrees and you weren't making the money you thought you should be making. With all the degrees you had, all the education you had, you weren't making ends meet like you needed to make. So you had to change your story in order to see this success, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and my story was, I think, like when I put it in the Isogenics template, I was a miserable, broken bartender from the Jersey Shore. And as like sad as that may sound, it was true in a lot of ways. I was really, really unhappy. I was really, really unfulfilled. I was looking over the bar because I did work on the Jersey Shore so I could see the ocean and thinking, I don't know if you've ever heard this like JoJo song that was really popular like 15 years ago, but there's got to be more to life. And I would sing in my head, there's got to be more to life. This cannot be it. Like this can't be. There's got to be another reason I'm here than to serve drinks on the Jersey Shore. And I had to really get honest with myself about what I wanted and what I was willing to do to figure it out. And part of that was I required a new culture. I required community. It was something that was really important to me. And I think the older we get, sometimes we start to lose it. And Isogenics just so happened to show up in my world at that very moment. But that was huge for me, was plugging into culture and community, finding people like Tara and Alexis, who were my mentors and also some of my closest friends they became, who were doing things differently, who were having different kinds of conversations, were reading different kinds of books, who wanted their life to look different because I didn't have that at that point in my life. I had a lot of great friends who I still love, and they weren't wanting to do the kind of stuff that I wanted to do. And that's my personal development is my hobby. It doesn't have to be anybody else's, but I'm really, really clear and specific on the people I want in my world at this point in my life. And I was back then too. And I knew that I required culture and community to create something for myself. So that was another huge thing for me.
I absolutely love that. When we get done, you need to go to my wall and listen to my Facebook Live I just did. That's only a couple minutes long tonight. I talked exactly about that, about your inner circle and who you surround yourself with. And that's something that I've preached to my children, to my team. These guys are probably all so sick of me saying it that they're going to roll their eyes. But you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So sometimes when we are really, really wanting this business and we're hanging out with people and we have like little accountability groups, and in the accountability groups we're griping about what's going wrong, and so and so did this and that's not fair, she's been in this less time than me, and what does she have that I don't have, what does he have that I don't have, and he doesn't do this full time and I do, and we do. I mean, it is just natural for us to do comparison. But what I loved what you said is that you really just work on yourself, and you compete with yourself. And so if any of you have any, like, I'm not a competitive person at all, but I do want to better myself. So I'm not into competing with, I mean, if I wanted to compete with Ciji because we sat together at that first meeting, I would be so depressed right now, because she just, I mean, it was like to me, it was like she skyrocketed. And I didn't do that. I mean, I was so proud of her success. I mean, how many cards did I send you for every promotion, Ciji? Because I was so proud of you. I wasn't.
Yeah. Every rank advancement, I had a card in the mail from Cindy. She's the most thoughtful person on the planet, and she puts me to shame because you can't see my counter, but I have just a ton of unopened mail here. I'm not as organized as Cindy, clearly. And it meant so much to me. And such pride when she was speaking on stage at Celebration. I needed everybody in my row to know, like, this is my gala friend. This is the story. Let me tell you how I met her. No, she's been like nothing but completely supportive every step of the way, for sure.
Okay,
and still is. I learned really quickly. We were having a conversation at the Influencer Summit, and Cindy asked me a question, and I was like, I don't know. I don't do that. Why? And she literally blew like the lid off of me and my entire business. And it was one of the most important conversations I probably had in all of 2017. And it changed the entire way I build my business, that I was completely blind to it. So I've learned so much from you too. And I think you know that, but in case you don't.
Thank you. That's awful sweet. And what I want to ask you next is, how important is it for a lot of these people? I mean, everybody here is building a business. How important is it for them to reach down and pour belief into other people? And if they are in a place of, they're not super happy where they are now, but we're still wanting them to pour belief into other people. I mean, for me, sometimes when I'm down and I'm discouraged, the best thing I can do is do something for someone else. So if I go through any type of a crisis or disappointment, and I still, I mean, I was sharing with my team, I did a live in my business group. Last Saturday, I built my whole day around these 2 Zooms I had planned that I was super excited for. One was my first person I was talking to from the UK. One was this new gal I met that's from Turkey, but she lives here now, and both of them blew me off. And so I get discouraged too, but when I'm discouraged, the way I choose to handle it is, sometimes I have a minute of a pity party, but I get into service to help other people. So what advice can you give to people that might not be where they want to be right now with their business? And how important is it for them to maybe go into an act of service and think about other people rather than where they are right now in their, dissatisfaction?
I think that how we handle the moments of frustration or the moments of not being happy about where we are in that moment are what will either propel us forward or keep us stuck. So I think that the people who go into a pity party for themselves that lasts a really long time, and they need to send a bunch of text messages and kind of go through the process, there's a reason you're not achieving more, and it's that right there. And then there's a reason that you are achieving more because you're doing those things. So I really do believe that the universe, or whatever you say, is so aware of what we're doing in the moment. And if you can't handle the frustration, making $1,000 a month, what are you going to do when it's $1,000 a month? Because I think that everyone probably on here would agree, the noise gets louder, the frustration gets louder, the moving parts become bigger. There's so many more things going on as you start to achieve greater levels of income. So if you can't manage in the more challenging one that you're experiencing, there's not a great chance you're going to be given the opportunity to handle the bigger ones, because you're just not ready for it. So that would be the first thing that I always go to, is I am where I am because it's what I'm ready for. And when I'm ready for the next level, that's when it will be, opened up or provided to me. And then it's something that Susan Sai said years ago. She said, action neutralizes negative emotion. And so I always stay with that too. So if I'm having a moment, what I get really clear with myself and I say, okay, like, just so we're being honest, you're choosing whatever your feelings are right now. You can choose anger, you can choose excitement, you can choose to recontextualize the situation. Which one are you going to choose? And there are times that I say, no, I'm just going to choose to be angry, but at least I'm aware it's my choice. So I'll have that conversation with myself, and then I always go to do the next right thing and take some kind of action, because it's like Susan said, action will neutralize negative emotion. You forget that you were frustrated when you're reaching out to people and having conversations. And then absolutely reaching out to people and letting them know when you're having a bad day, there's nothing better than letting someone know that you appreciate them or why they inspire you. Or just like you said, pouring greatness and pouring belief into people, because this business is not about us. And I think it was when I really started to wrap my head around that I started to achieve success, because I would say to Alexis all the time, yeah, I don't have a product story, so I can't talk about the products, and I'm not a fitness instructor. I can't talk to fitness instructors, and I'm not making any money, so I can't talk to people about money. And she would say over and over and over again, this is not about you. This is about what you can do for someone else. Nobody cares how much money you're making. They care about how much money they can make. And like I said, I heard that thousands of times, and it wasn't until I really started to internalize it that it started to make even more sense, I think, on a cellular level, about other people and other people's success and other people's experience and other people's energy and what I could provide to other people in some way, whether it's isogenics or not. I like to make people feel really good, even if they're not on isogenics. So if that's giving someone a compliment that wants nothing business, that still feels good. So I don't know if that answers it, but that's all
Oh gosh, I really hope you guys wrote that one down, because we do hear that all the time, that it's not about us. We hear it all the time. Boy, that's something that when that light bulb finally goes off and we aren't spending time looking for the negative things. I mean, I still, to this day, Ciji, and people know my story. They know that I have built both legs by myself. They all know that story, but I still have people come to me upset about when they figure out where they've been placed, or they don't have a breakaway leg. They'll complain to me about that. And I'm always sympathetic, of course. I listen to them and I try to empathize with them and help them. But when that light bulb finally goes off, and they're not spending time worrying about who's enrolling who underneath them and who's doing more than them, and who's succeeding and who's not, when they spend more time worrying about helping other people achieve their goals and getting them to their level of success, that is that magical light bulb moment where everything does shift. All right, one more question before I get to referrals, because we have to make sure we talk about that, is since the momentum kicked in, so I would say within a year of our dinner, I started to watch you start rank advancing. When you hit that momentum, has it just been skyrocket to the top, or have you had some wall kicking moments, some disappointments, and some things you've had to work through since then? And how did you do that?
That's a great question. So I've not been a straight shot of momentum. And if I'm being completely honest, I was ignorant when I hit momentum, because I just thought, well, this is great, and it's always going to be like this now forever. It's just always going to be like rank advance, constantly people coming in. So it went like this, and then it's more gone. It's kind of like steadied out a little bit. And it was when it steadied out that I had a conversation with myself, because I had put so much emphasis in my life around when I max out my center, then I'm going to be happy. Then all of these things are going to happen. And what I realized is when I maxed out my center, I still felt like the exact same person. So it had to be done on me at that point to figure out what that looks like. And I can say my business right now is like this, maybe it's a little bit like this, but more like this. And I'm having more fun building it than I ever had when it was going like this. And it's because I started to figure out what this really looked like for me and what this really meant to me. And I stopped placing so much external emphasis on maxing out, rank advancing. And I just started to find, and I feel like this sounds so where does she think she is? But I started to really figure out that I can be happy right now in this moment. If I never make another dime, if my paycheck stays exactly the same, I can be happy, because if I'm not happy here, I'm never going to be happy here. And once I got to that point and said I can be happy exactly as things are, all of a sudden the energy started to shift on my team, because like I said, I hit momentum really, I don't like to say quickly because there was time leading into it, but I did hit it quickly, and I hit it, like I said, kind of ignorantly. And so I just assumed that's the way it's always going to be. And I had to really grow into being a leader. And so, yeah, there were definitely wall kicking moments and challenges. And I started to realize that, and I had this conversation with a lot of people who I got the opportunity to go back to them. And I said, hey, let me ask you a question. Why did you quit? Was it because I was too intense and I was too expectational and I wanted you to be just like me? And I tried to fit you into this box because I fit very well in the rest, you haven't noticed, but not everybody, all of a sudden, I was alienating people in purpose, but because I was building this business out of a place of survival, thinking that everybody had to be like me, letting them be like themselves. And so that's been a huge breakthrough for me, and just kind of building this business and understanding what it really means to meet people where they are, and not just saying I'm going to meet people where they are and then keep doing things exactly the way I was. So yes, I definitely had challenges. I still have challenges for sure. But I'm such a firm believer in taking action from an inspired place, especially now. And like I said, I'm experiencing very little momentum in my business. I don't think what's happening in my business is considered momentum. I think it's considered consistency, but I'm having so much fun doing it that I don't care if I rank advance. And someone said to me the other day, is your goal to be 7 figures a year? And I said, I guess, but it's honestly not that important to me. I don't care necessarily if my paycheck grows. I care that my organization can look at me and say, we're having the best time of our life doing this. This is changing our family's life physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is they came here for. Because all the other stuff I really believe is going to work itself out.
Awesome. Gosh, that was great. Okay. So just so you know, we're working through the 90-day action plan, and we're going through all of the daily activities. So each week when I have someone come on and talk with us, we talk about one of the activities, and this week's activity is on referrals. So tell me, what have you done with referrals? Have you asked for them? How do you go about getting referrals?
That's great. And I feel like this question came on a really great day because I enrolled someone who was a referral from someone I enrolled 6 years ago. So March of 2012, I initially got on the phone with this girl. Her name is Erin, about isogenics. We talked about it. We didn't get started. I went through our Facebook inbox and was horrified at some of my follow-up methods. But 6 years later today, she reached out to me all on her own and she got started. And it wasn't because of my horrible follow-up, because there's horrible follow-up over those first 2 years when I was figuring this out. But in my opinion, it was because I continued to build a relationship, actually started to figure this out. And it was wishing her a happy birthday. It was saying, oh my goodness, I'm going to be in Austin. And I know you live in Austin. I saw your post about this. So building a relationship with people. And she was just, like I said, a referral. I've never met her before. So yes, I ask for referrals. I ask for them all the time. I'm clear with people on this, and I'm totally okay with that. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. And so if it's not for you, that's cool. But who do you know that it could be for? Because I'm really serious. And anyone at all knows closer. And they both have earned 6 figures in isogenics. And neither of them started until my sister started, I think, when I was a 4-star, and my started a month before I maxed out. And they'll say started in this business, their warm market didn't exist because I already talked to their whole warm market and I enrolled their whole warm market. I didn't wait for them. I didn't put them under them because I was doing it with or without them. And so I build my business with that still. And I think it's the greatest way to inspire people to join you is for them to know they're not the only game in town. You're not so concerned with what they're doing because you're going to build this with or without them. And so, yes, I ask for referrals. I do it all the time. It's specific tomorrow, Thursday. I have a hair appointment, and it's a conversation with the girl who does my hair. But I appreciate that this opportunity isn't for a lot of people who sit in this chair. So who can you think of that it is for? And I just ask. And the worst they're going to say is, I don't know anybody. But most people want to help other people, because I know when someone comes to me and they're asking me for a referral or a suggestion or for a book recommendation, I want to give it to them because I want to help them. So I assume that other people, it's my assumption, I assume people want to help me. The same way, like, I assume I'm not annoying when I follow up with you. I just assume that it's coming from a place of, being a compliment, because I don't want to work with everyone. So if I'm following up with you or if I'm reaching out to you, it means I actually really like you and you're someone I would want to spend time with. So I don't know if that answers it.
That's your posture. Like your posture is so strong around that it just sounds so easy and fluid coming out of your mouth. So that's, that says a lot for how you approach everything. So very comfortable, like what you said to the hairdresser, very comfortable. I think that's something that we could all do. I think, I interviewed Angela Maresca not too long ago, and she is huge on referrals. Like she will message people, she will ask them to post on their walls for referrals. And I think it's something that we give referrals all the time. I know if you're in any kind of a networking meeting, oftentimes you have to give referrals. That's what you do at your networking meetings. So we don't mind giving them, but why are we so nervous and apprehensive to ask for them? What do you think that is? Why do you think people are afraid to ask for a referral?
Yeah, I don't know. And this is the thing too, is I really believe people are going to find Isagenix, whether they're going to find it through me or they're going to find it through someone else. And I believe that if I'm not asking for referrals and letting people know that I'm doing it, they might not have as great of an experience, because I know I'm going to give someone a great experience. And that's the posture that I have that conversation with too. And that's the posture everyone, I think, should, because working with me is going to be a blast for whatever qualities that you have. So I do things with sarcasm too, because it's just genuine to who I am. So I keep my for sure. So that's why I don't ever think anything can be cookie cutter and like exactly what someone says. But I think people are uncomfortable asking for referrals because they're worried about what people think of them, right? And I think that's normal. I would be lying if I didn't have that same conversation in my head sometimes. The only thing I think I've gotten better at separating like the thoughts that go through my head and then like actually observing them and realizing it's just my mind talking. It's what it does. And that's human nature, and not giving it so much energy and so much credence.
That's great. Okay, so tell everyone, and this might be something we'll start to come to a close here. How can they change their posture? So if their belief and their posture is not where yours is, and some may be far from yours, what things can they do to sound like you? Because your posture is, you're so convicted that you could sell me anything. Really, I mean, listening to you, you could sell me anything. So, and I feel like we share so much. Someone said to me today, my father-in-law used to say, oh gosh, how did he word that? He used to say, you can sell shit to farmers. Excuse me, my team never hears me swear, but I love it. He used to say that to me, and I used to crack up at that. But I feel like, we share. We don't. I mean, we do sell products, and I'm proud of it. I mean, sales is one of the highest paid jobs in the world. So I'm proud of that. But what I want people to know is that even if they have no belief, no conviction, no experience, they're new, even if they're discouraged, even if they're not happy with where their business is right now, that they can have your posture. Can you share with them maybe some tips on how they can do that?
Totally. You just reminded me, a girl on my team, Jillian, Larry Leopoldi's sister, actually, when she started, I got on the phone with her and she said, Ciji, I'm the kind of girl you wanted at a bake sale in high school because I could sell it all. And I was like, I've never heard anyone say that before, and I think I love you. And she's a 4-star. She lives in Maui now. I was the exact opposite of that. You didn't want me at your bake sale because I could have cared less about probably trying to sell your stuff anyway. So to the person who feels like they're at the opposite end of the spectrum from me, I get it, because I was there for a really long time. And the best advice that I could give you is, I think skills are important in network marketing. I think habits are important. I think the mindset is the most important. I think if you go to work on your posture, you'll see results faster than anywhere else, because I promise you, and someone just said this to me the other day, they said, you actually said at a launch party, I don't know what the ingredients are, but I can show you them. And I said, it's true. I don't know what the ingredients are in a lot of the stuff, but nobody cares if I do or not. They care if they believe that I can take them to where they want to go. So the skills are important. I so believe that learning how to do the presentation and asking questions and listening, they're all skills that can be learned. And if you learn the posture as you're learning the skills, and you make learning the posture the most important thing, everything else will come. And I can tell you, probably the way I learned my posture is I listened to things every moment I had that I wasn't working my business or working a job. I became obsessed with getting better. And that's what I really believe separates a lot of success and the people who end up quitting, is because they're not really obsessed with getting better. They're more committed to the story in their head. And I think that's the biggest challenge that people go through. But if you become so obsessed with getting better that it's not a sacrifice to get on a training call or listen to a podcast or Lynn Hagedorn's Millionaire Mindset CDs, I listened to those until they were worn out constantly. So that way, when I started talking, all of a sudden I was saying things that were coming out of her mouth. So I would become obsessed with building your posture, and do that through being around people who have posture, hanging around people like Cindy and Susan and all the leaders on this team who I don't know everyone, because they have the posture or they wouldn't be where they are. To be obsessed with it.
That's great advice. And I can honestly say I'm obsessed with it too. And, you know, people will ask me, my mom has said to me so many times, why do you still go to meetings? Why do you still go to trainings? Why do you still listen to that stuff? And because I am obsessed too, because, you know, my competition, I don't compete with other people. I never played sports. I had the luxury of doing that. So I'm just not a competitive person, but I am someone that wants to continually grow myself. I want to get better every single day. And so I'm always watching things. I give my husband a hard time about watching news before bed at night. I want to go to bed listening to something or reading a book, because the more that I read and the more that I listen to, it helps me be better. It helps me handle every roadblock that I hit, but it also helps me be a better coach to my team. And I think that's something that, you know, if you are not doing it on a daily basis, that it could be your golden nugget for tonight. Make sure that you become obsessed with getting better. That's probably one of my favorite things you said, but I loved every single one of them, Ciji, and I cannot thank you enough. I've read some of the comments, and I'm going to send you all of the comments from the chat, but I'm going to send you the comments after I post the recording, because we get a lot of people that work and watch the recording the next day. So I'll send you all of their comments, but I can't thank you enough for your time. And I love your story. And what I love so much about you is that you really came from a place of having absolutely no experience in building something magnificent, and you're having so much fun doing it, and it's been so fun to watch your journey and watch your growth. And honestly, I remember when this was awkward for you. I remember when it was a struggle for you. So to watch you now and hear the conviction in your voice, you did not have that 6 years ago. I wish I had a recording of our dinner together that night, and the things that you said and the questions that you asked us compared to now. Her change, you guys, the change in her is absolutely amazing, but it can happen for every single one of you that is watching this call tonight if you want it to be. So become obsessed about your growth and growing for sure. Ciji, any last words you want to say before we end the call?
I just love you. One of my goals is like Cindy, because she puts me at such ease, and she's so peaceful. And it's one of the things I'm working on. So I love you, and I love your team, and thank you for this opportunity. And I really believe anyone can do what I did. I also do believe a lot of people won't. But like I said, it's not because they can, it's just because they don't want to be obsessed with getting better. And that's cool too. You can want to not everybody has to want to be an Isogenics millionaire.
Right.
And I think sometimes, like in this conversation I just had with my team, I said, pick your bucket. And it's okay. The problem is when you're acting like you want to be in one bucket, but you're really in another. Do you want to get your products paid for? Do you want to make $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month? Do you want to leave your job? Do you want to be a millionaire? Like, what bucket are you in? And be real with yourself, and then be real with yourself on the work that's going to be required to get there. But let's stop pretending you want to be an Isogenics millionaire if you just don't care that much, because then we can actually help you succeed, versus pretending you're going to be a millionaire and then not wanting to do any of the work required to get there. So I guess those are my final words.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing. I can't wait to hear all the feedback from everybody on the call tonight. Thank you guys for joining in. I love when you invest your time and you get a great call like this. I hope you guys walked away with several nuggets that you can implement immediately into your business so that you can take it to the next level. Thank you guys. Thank you, Ciji. You were the best. You were so awesome tonight. Love you. Bye, guys.